Everyone, Tracy here with Paper Closet Designs. In today's video, we are going to work on Christmas ornaments. I'm so excited to share this with you. If you have followed me with the Glowforge files, you'll know that every year I do some Christmas ornaments that go with the Glowforge, and I'm just going to show you a couple of them. So there is our milk can. This year I kind of went with a country theme. And here's a little car with a tree. And then I also did a Christmas village. And so here is the chapel that goes to the Christmas village. But every year I always have people email me or message me and want to know if they can use these files in the Cricut or the Silhouette. And the short answer is yes, you can. However, they're designed to use with the Glowforge, and so there's a lot of things in there that don't necessarily work with the Cricut or the Silhouette. So this year I took all of those files and I changed them into SVG files that work with your digital cutters. And so here is our milk can Christmas ornament. And here is the candy store. I have 10 Christmas ornaments that we are going to do, and we're going to do all of them today on this video. So I'm going to try and kind of go through them fairly quickly. Each of these has an option where you can cut them out of chipboard or you can cut them out of cardstock. If you have a machine that will cut the chipboard, then you can go ahead and cut one layer out of the chipboard. This is your middle layer. If you don't have that machine, that is fine. You can cut it out of cardstock. So on this barn, I cut 5 layers of the cardstock, and we're going to glue those together to make the middle layer, and it will work perfectly. For all of these that I'm going to show you today, half of them I've done on chipboard and half of them I've done with the layered cardstock, and you'll see as we go along that there really isn't a big difference. So don't feel like you can't do that. One other thing that you'll need to know is all of the files come with a back piece, so you can cover the back of your ornament, or you can leave it without a backing on there. Today I'm not going to put the backs on there just for the sake of time, but they are all included if you want that back piece. For the files that I've done today, I have already gone ahead and distress the edges, and I just use my distress crayons, my Tim Holtz distress crayons, and I've done quite a few videos showing how to do that, so I'm not going to do that part today either because we want to make this video as short as possible. So for the milk can, and the candy store, I have already assembled these. But as we go along, you will know exactly how to do these two. These were the two, not easiest, but I don't know, less parts or whatever. So as we go along, the instructions for these two, you'll know how to do them as well. The files that have words on them, this is a printable file. And so it doesn't matter which machine you're using, you can print this out, or you can delete it and not use it, or you can change it, add your own sentiment, or hand stamp it. But every file has that. So I'm going to set the milk aside and the candy store aside, and we're going to start with our barn. So like I said, this one I cut out of 5 layers of cardstock. Your instructions are going to tell you anywhere between 4 and 6. It just depends on how thick your cardstock is. This is 65 weight, and so 5 seems to be really well. And all you're going to do is you're just going to glue these one layer at a time. And you want to make sure that you get the edges pretty good. So I'm just going to match them up. You need to hold it up. And then we go to the next one. Make sure you get around the top where you're going to hang your ornament. And then, like I said, pretty good on the edges. One thing you can do that will help keep this flat is once you've got all of your layers glued together, just lay it under something that's kind of heavy, a book or anything that you've got laying around that's a little bit heavy, and that will dry that so that those are flat. This is super easy to do, and they work great when you just layer your cardstock. And you can cut this middle piece out of any color that you want. The little hang part will show, the little hang tab, so you'll want to do it in a color that you're comfortable showing. And when we get to the car, there's one other piece that will show through, but I will show that to you here in a minute when we get to that one. Okay, so now you can see that that layered cardstock is as thick as cutting that out of chipboard. So for the barn, besides this piece, the hang piece, the middle piece, you will have some other pieces. So we have the roof of our barn. We have the barn doors, the smaller ones for the window. The barn doors, the larger ones. You have two pieces that I cut out of white for the background behind the barn doors. You could cut this out of brown or any color that you want. You'll have one snow piece, and then the barn itself, and this is also the piece that would go on the back. So if you were going to put it on the back, you would actually cut two of these, not just one. So all I'm going to do is add some glue to this, and then lay it right here to match up. Sorry, working around the camera here. There we go. I'm going to add my roof piece next. And we're just going to add it right up there to the top. And then I'm going to take my solid white square that goes behind the doors, and I'm going to glue it right on the bottom and center it. I like the liquid glue for these. You could also use your tape runner, but if you want to use these year after year, I feel like the glue will hold them better. The tape runners sometimes after, you know, a little time in storage, they'll start to fall apart. Okay, and then we're just going to take that door and line it up. And then our second door. I would suggest a glue that dries clear for this. I'm going to take my snow piece, and I think this snow would be really pretty cut out of some white glitter cardstock. I didn't have any on hand. That was my original thought, but I didn't have time to run to the store, so I just used white and inked up the edges a little bit. And then we're going to take the smaller square and center it. And then take our smaller doors or window pieces. And glue them right next to it. And there you go. There is our little barn Christmas ornament. So cute. And I will show you how I finish these at the end once they're all done. I'll go ahead and add the cord and the bow. Okay, so we're going to set that aside. And the next one we're going to do is our church. And the pieces that come with that is you have your snow pieces. So you have a snow for the top and 2 snows for the bottom. The door is 2 pieces. The windows are 2 pieces, and you'll have 2 of those. You have a wreath, I don't know how well you can see that, and a tiny bow. Don't worry, your machines will cut that tiny bow. You have 2 roof pieces. You have a cross. Now the cross is optional. I know that some people don't like crosses on their church and some do. So I've left that on there. It's completely optional. And then you have the background, your church background. And then you have your hang piece. And this one I did cut out of the chipboard. So it's all one piece. Okay, so all I'm going to do, this would also be your back piece if you decided you wanted a piece for the back. I'm just going to add some glue to that. I think that this would be really fun if you had a embossing machine that you could do the embossing folder and do it with brick or wood, just to give it a little more. But if you don't have it, that's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm not using it. Okay, once that's on there pretty smooth, we're going to start with our roof. Now this is not perfectly symmetrical, so you're going to want to make sure that you get this roof running in the right direction. And see, I didn't. There we go. Okay, and then we have our second roof. And it just lines up right there, matching up the sides. Your cross, if you're going to use it, would go right in there. And then before we're going to add the door, I want to add my snow pieces on the bottom because the door is going to fit in between those. So I'm just going to take my snow and line it up on the left side and the bottom, and then again on the right side and the bottom. Come on, I can't pick that up. Just like that. And then we have a snow piece that goes on the top roof piece as well. And if you live in a climate that doesn't have snow over the holidays, or you celebrate somewhere warm, you don't need to add the snow. You can just leave it off. These are your ornaments. You make them the way you want them. I'm going to take the back part of the door and slide it in between the 2 stacks of snow. And then we're going to take the inside of the door, and the bottom of the door is going to line up with the bottom of the ornament. So there's not a shadow all the way around. It's around the top and the sides, but not on the bottom. So we don't want our door floating. Okay, next up is the windows, and I'm going to kind of lay those on there and make sure I get them where I want them first. And we're going to glue the yellow or the inside of the windows. You could cut this out of anything. I was showing these to someone, and they said, wouldn't that be pretty to kind of cut it out of like some mylar paper or something glossy and make them look like stained glass? And yes, they would. That would be really pretty. Plus, it would pick up the light on your tree, I think. Oh, that one might not be quite straight. You do want these to have a decent amount of glue so that they hold, but you don't need to like gob it on there and make them all gooey. Okay, then like I said, you could put your cross on there if you want to or not. And then the last piece is the Christmas wreath. Just gonna glue it right above the door. And then we have this little tiny bow, and it can go on the top of the wreath or the bottom of the wreath, wherever you would like it. And there is our church house. Isn't that so pretty? Okay, next up, we're just cruising through these. The next one is the toy store. So we're going to go from church to the toy store. And let me show you the pieces that are included on here. We have a house and another window, two parts. It is bigger than the windows in the church. So if you've got them both cut out, the bigger one goes in your toy store. We have one piece of wood. We have the toys sign, and this is a printable. I have just inked around the edges in red, but the toys and the sign is printable. We have some garland on this one. Another Christmas wreath. This one is a little bit bigger again than the chapel. Another piece of snow, the roof, and the actual store. This piece I also cut out of chipboard. This would be your front and your back. So if you're going to want something on the back, you're going to cut 2 of these pieces. And I'm not sure on the file if I left it as 2. I don't think I did. I think when I was designing these, I just left them as 1 because not everybody wants those back pieces. I'll line this up. And I'm going to start with my roof. Let's get a little more on there so it doesn't pull off. We have this piece of snow that goes on the top. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the snow again. I'm going to put it on the bottom first so that I know where to place my door. So this one we're going to match on the left side. And then I will know to place my snow right next to it and almost to the edge of the store. We have another window. So let's just kind of get an idea of where we want that. I'm going to put the yellow on first. This one, if you had some printed paper with, I don't know, little presents or something, you could do that in your window. I think the trees are going to be so fun with all of these country village pieces. Christmas village, country village. Okay, next up we have our garland, and it goes right under the roof. So I'm going to just put some glue on it, line it up along the edge, right along the roof. And there's our garland. Going to take our toys sign and glue it kind of in the middle. And if you had some epoxy dots to hold that in place or to look like little nails, I think that would make it just really fun. I also think these would be fun cut out of paper that was like candy and stuff, and then they'd be more like gingerbread. Okay, our wreath is going to go on the roof. With our bow. And that glue will dry clear, so I'm going to hold that up. There is our toy store ornament. Set that to the side. We have one more of the village, and that is the post office. So let me show you the pieces that come with that. We have two windows. So we have the background and the frame. I don't know why my background is on top, but it is. A solid door. We have a little mailbox that is two pieces. So we have this little red circle that goes on the inside, and then our mailbox, I cut it out of white, and it says to Santa. So this is a print and cut. And then we have the post office sign, which is also a print and cut. And once again, I highlighted the sign and the mailbox with some red distress crayons. We have the roof front piece, two snow pieces, the roof back piece, and then the post office. This one I also cut out of chipboard. This piece would be for the front and the back if you were going to put a back on it. Get that smoothed down. Let's start with this roof right here. Ooh, I hope I have enough glue to get me through all these. Okay, let's put our snow on next. And you can see how we have these little angles. Those go right up against the, not up against, they're gonna go under this green piece. So if we line them up along the top and the sides, then that green eave piece, I think that's called an eave, will cover that up. I'm just gonna line that on the left side. Now we have this eave. I did these as close to the wood ornaments as I could. There is a couple of small differences, but they're as close as I could make them. Okay, so next let's take our mailbox and glue it down to Santa, and then the inside mailbox. And your machine will cut these little pieces without any problem. But I turned the signs and the mailbox into print and cuts because I wouldn't want to do those teeny tiny letters. Okay. We're going to add our door next. Let's add our post office sign. And it goes kind of up in the eaves. And then we have our two windows. Let's add those. And then the window frames. And you don't have to cut all of those pieces out of green. You could do different colors. You could do the windows out of red or anything that you want. I was just trying to keep it as simple as possible, but feel free to change up anything on here that you want. And again, if you don't have snow in your area, leave the snow off. Okay, so there is our post office. This is going to be so cute once we get the string and a ribbon tied onto it. The last one for the village pieces is the candy corn shop that I had already showed you. So, or the candy store, sorry. This one is really simple. I'm going to tell you that the door on here is 2 parts, just like the church was. Whoops, I got to get my cross on there. The candy store is printable. We have the snow piece, and then the candy corns, excuse me, not Halloween anymore, candy canes and the peppermint twist are both 2 layers. So you'll have a white layer and then a red layer. And if I hold that close, you'll notice that those are really tiny holes. Your machine will cut them just fine. And you might need to take a pin and just poke them out a little bit if they don't completely poke out. And then if you want this piece right here, would be your front and your back again. Okay, so those are the village pieces. Now let's move on to kind of the country pieces and the cars and the truck. So here is the truck. I'm thinking this is probably my most favorite one. I don't know, I love them all. So what is included in the truck? So the truck has a printable that says Merry Christmas. It also has a tailgate. I inked this up with a super dark red because I wanted it to not blend into the actual truck itself. We have a holly, so you've got the holly berry and 2 holly leaves. You'll have the back of the truck, the fender, 2 tires, your 2 lights, and I cut those out of yellow. They're really small. You can do them out of orange or red, anything you want. Excuse me. And then this is the back piece and the front piece. So when you're cutting it out for the front, the only thing that's going to show is inside the window. That's why I did this in white. If you're going to do it for the back piece, you could do it in red or any other color that you want. This piece is also cut out of chipboard. I know I have some that I think the last 3 are cardstock. Okay, so we're just going to glue this. And match everything up. If you are putting a back piece on, I would suggest putting the back piece on first and then flipping it over. I don't think it really matters, but if your glue's not quite dry on the front and you flip it over, it might smear it or stick to your desk. Okay, so now we're going to put this back piece on. Or not the back piece, I'm sorry, the truck back. Line that up as best you can with everything on there. There we go. At this point, I'm going to add the 2 little tail lights. And I'm just going to put like a drop of glue in there and then lay those right in there. And there is a little bit of shadow behind it. That is fine. The white will show through a little bit, but it's perfectly fine. And again, another reason to use glue that dries clear. Okay, now we're going to put our bumper on. And it just fits right up there in those 2 little notches. And actually, before we put the bumper on, let's put the tires on. Because I think that bumper is going to hang over the tires just a tiny, tiny bit. Now we can go ahead and that on there. It's coming together. Next, I'm going to add my Merry Christmas to the tailgate. And if you don't want this saying, you could just add the tailgate without anything on there at all. Okay, the tailgate is going to get glued on right here. If you wanted to, you could add that up with some foam pop dots. However, the adhesive on those dots, I don't know if it'll last from year to year. So I'm going to glue it on there, but putting it up on the foam to give it a little more dimension is another option, and it would look great. And then the last thing we have is our little holly. And you can put this anywhere you want. You could put it in the corner. I'm actually going to kind of put it in the window, but I want to put the leaves on first, I think. Now we can go ahead and put that holly berry on. And there is our little truck that says Merry Christmas. So fun. Okay, next up is the car with the Christmas trees. So this piece is going to be just a little bit different than what I've shown you in before. So we have our tree, and it comes in 3 pieces. You have the top, you have the middle, and you have the background. And then you have your car. So we have the top of the car, we have the bumper again, and the tires are 2 pieces. I'll have 2 of those. And you will have this white piece. This is going to be the windows. I did not do a base piece or a base piece for the back of this one. So when you cut this out, that last layer, if you want it to be a different color, go ahead and cut that last layer out of red or anything that you want. But just know that there's not a solid piece like there is on the others. And I did that for a reason. And that's because when I first did it and then I started layering everything, I just didn't like the way that it looked. So on this, this was I cut with the chipboard, or excuse me, the cardstock. And so there's 5 layers here. And on the very top layer, I did ink the stem of the tree. So this piece, whichever one is on top, you're going to see your hang tag and the stem of your, or the trunk of your tree. And then again, like I said, this will be your back piece. So to make this, we're going to take our white piece, which is the inside of the windows. Oh, come on, I've only got 2, 3 more left. Let's get this through. And you're going to just line that up. And then we're going to take the car, and I've already inked it all up. Cover that white so that the windows are showing. And then we're going to add our bumper. If you cut this out and you get a little mixed up as to which direction it goes, the longer piece is for the front of the car. So you can see the back of the bumper is a little bit shorter than the front of the bumper. And then we have our tires with the center. And then the tree, as I showed you, is done in 3 parts. And if you're inking these on this bottom tree, you really only need to ink the bottom part of it because the rest is going to be covered. The middle tree, the same thing. You really only need to ink the bottom again. And then the top, I inked it all. So we're going to take this bottom piece, and I cut mine out of 3 different colors of green. You can do it any way that you want it. You can do all 3 colors the same because they're layered. It'll give you that dimension. You could just cut this back piece out and leave it like that and just have the 1 color tree. That's fine. If we're going to go to the next one, this is your middle piece. And there is the top piece. So there is our car with the Christmas tree. This might be my favorite one too. I don't know, I love them all. Okay, next up I'm going to do just the Christmas tree because it has a couple of different options, but it goes together just like the tree did on the car. So I have some snow pieces on here if you want your Christmas tree to have snow on it. If it's been outside, you might want that snow. If you're thinking that it's in the house, it doesn't have snow, you don't need to put that on. Those are optional pieces. The Christmas tree itself has 3 pieces again, the top, the middle, and the back. And then it also has a solid piece that has the trunk. You will want to cut this out of brown paper so that you've got your trunk. This would also be the back piece. If you are using a paper that only has color on one side, or for some reason you're using a printed paper, you would want to mirror this and then cut it for the back. This one goes together really quickly and it's fairly simple. We're just going to match this up. This one I did cut from 5 sheets of cardstock and then glued them all together. And my front piece, I actually even cut it out of the same color. You could do it as a different color, but I did it from the same one. I just like that brown. Okay. Then we have the back of our tree. I did this in the darker green. And you could, once again, if you wanted to just have it all one color, you could just use this piece and be done with it. I'm going to layer mine, so when I shaded it or inked it up, I just did the bottom third of the tree. Then we have the second layer or the middle layer. I'm going to match that up to the top. And this one, I just inked that bottom part of that middle piece because now we're going to cover it with the top of the tree. And if you wanted to leave it like that, you could. You could also decorate the tree. Again, if you had some of those epoxy dots or the epoxy Christmas lights I've seen on, or anything, you could go ahead and decorate your tree. If you want this tree to look like it came from outside, I'm not going to glue these on just yet because I want to take pictures of it with and without. But if you wanted to make your tree look like it just came from outside, then we have 3 or 4 layers of snow that you can add to your tree and make it look like a tree that has snow. Okay, there is the Christmas tree. We have one left, and that is our little country snowman. And the pieces that come with that are, he again has a little bit of holly, 2 leaves and some berries. He has 2 buttons, a corn nose, oh my goodness, a carrot nose, 2 eyes made out of coal, remember that song? A hat, which has 2 layers, so it's the hat and then you have the hat band. And then we have the snowman. Now this one is also cut out of the 5 layers of cardstock, and I glued them together. And this one is the same as with the car. I don't have a front and a back piece. So if you wanted to, you could cut this back piece out of white or black or anything that you want. And then this front piece, the only piece that's going to show is where the hang tag goes. So I didn't do a front piece for this. We're going to start with our snowman and put some glue on him. Oh, come on, this is my last ornament. We can do this. And just line him up. I did ink my white with a little bit of blue, but you could just leave it or do anything that you wanted. Red would work, gray would work, or you could even cut this out of that glitter paper again. I think that would be so pretty. We're going to take his hat and glue his hat on. Glue the hat band on, and the hat band goes so that it curves down. I almost glued the wrong side. So it kind of curves down and it just goes right there above the brim. Next, I would suggest putting his nose on. And you can have his nose point either direction. Or if you don't like carrot noses, you can cut out another coal and use coal for his nose as well. We've got the 2 eyes made out of coal, and I'm just going to put a couple of drops of glue right on his face and then pick those up. Getting lots of glue on my hands. Okay, next up we have the 2 buttons. If you wanted to, depending on where your nose was, you could tie some string or a little ribbon right here and make it a scarf. I think this would be really pretty with a little bit of ribbon and maybe even a small jingle bell tied around his neck. And then we're going to add the buttons. And these buttons, you could actually tie some string through them too. Just really depends on how much you want to do. You can keep them simple or make them really elaborate, and that goes for all of these ornaments. Okay, then we have the holly, and it's going to go right down here on the bottom. With a little holly berry. And this little guy is finished as well. Okay, let me show you the milk can. I'm trying to get this glue put away. Okay, let me show you the milk can. So here is the milk can, and the pieces that come with it is we have the printable milk, and then I don't know how well you can see this, but there is a dark and a light milk can. So we've got this back piece. This is your front and your back. If you flip it over and glue it to the front, then you can see these lighter gray pieces, and they're kind of tiny. They get glued on top of that. And then this one also has the 2 holly and the little berry. So let me show you how to finish this off with some ribbon and a hang tag. I'm going to do it with the car. I'm going to move that snowman out of the way because he's still wet. So you'll want some type of string, rope, ribbon, twine to make a hang tag. This is just some stuff that I had. I think it was from Stampin' Up! And I've got a ton of it, so I'm going to use it. And I'm cutting about 10 inches. That might be overkill, but I would rather have more of that than I need. So I'm going to take it in half, fold it in half, and the loop end, I'm going to bring it from the back into the front. Just like that. So there's the loop, there's the top. We're going to set that aside for just a second, and then I'm going to take some ribbon. And this is just some cheap ribbon that I bought at the dollar store, so it's not anything super expensive. And you're going to want about 6 to 8 inches. I'd go closer to the 8 inches on this. And to make the bow, now this is optional. You don't have to do this. You can just put a hang tag on it and be done with it if you want. To make the bow, I'm going to turn the ribbon so that it is wrong side up. So the right side is facing the desk and the wrong side is facing me. We're going to cross it over. So the right side is up, and then we're going to cross it over again. So the right side is up again. So we have kind of this, there's the back, kind of looks like one of those award ribbons or whatever. We're going to put that in the back. Don't worry too much about the size of the loops or the tails or anything right now. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put that right on top of the hole and hold it. And then we're going to take our two tails and we are going to slide them through that loop on our string. If I can see around the leg. So just like that. So those two ends went through the loop on my string. And now I'm going to just pull it really tight. Adjust your bows if you need to make them a little bit smaller or a little bit bigger. Make sure that's really tight, and then separate your two pieces and tie a knot. If you wanted to add a bead or something at this point, you could. So on my wood ones, I usually do add a bead up here. You can do that with this as well if you want to. But once you've got that finished, you're just going to decide how long you want your loop to hang, and you're going to tie a knot at the top. And I just do it around my finger. Pull it so it's nice and tight. And then clip off those ends. And then adjust your bow as you would like. You can either cut it at an angle, your tails, excuse me. You can cut it at an angle like I did on that one, or you can cut it with the flag ends like I did on this one. So that is all there is to it. Excuse me. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you have enjoyed this video. I hope you will try at least one of these Christmas ornaments. They are so fun. Please hit subscribe down below so that you don't miss any of my videos. Give me a thumbs up and have a great day.